Hello, welcome to the video on asking questions. There are a number of different types of questions you can ask, and they can be classified as open or closed questions. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of having open questions? Well, the advantage is that respondents answer in their own terms. There's no clarification of terms. They can just provide any answer that they want, and they don't have to actually choose from specific answers provided by you. It allows for new, unexpected responses, and it generates fixed answer questions. The disadvantages is that you are now left with a variety of answers which may have no common themes amongst them, and thus will be very time consuming to actually deal with. They can be difficult to code because there may be no consistency in the answers provided. A lot of effort is required from the respondent in how to actually deal with the variety of answers provided. A typical open-ended question is, for example, tell me about your restaurant experiences. And here, there's no actually prescribed terms given. They're actually asking just for you to give your own experiences. Whereby, conversely, closed questions are, for example, do you own a car? Yes or no. This is called a dichotomous question, yes or no. And the advantages is that it is much quicker and easier to complete. You can get a better response rate because respondents just have to tick a box or do a circle or eliminate an answer that is not representative of their views. Very easy to process the data. It can be coded very quickly into SPSS, and extremely easy to compare answers. It's either yes or it's no, whereby when it's open-ended questions, it's very difficult to compare answers. Though the disadvantages are, and I have three given here, there's no spontaneity, there's no expansion, there's no interpretation of different people's views. And it is very difficult to make fixed choice answers exhaustive. You, in a sense, are pigeonholing your answers into 2 or 4 or however many closed responses. But interestingly enough, people actually may interpret the answers differently and even the questions differently. So how true of an answer are you getting? So what type of questions may we actually be asking? Well, the list is exhaustive, but to, in a sense, comprehensively present an overview of the types of questions, it could be personal factual questions, for example, your age, your education. It could be factual questions about others, maybe in a sense their opinions or views on politicians or politics or companies, etc. It could be informant factual questions, it could be attitudes, it could be beliefs, normative standards and values, and maybe the knowledge of a subject. So they are the types of questions that could be posed. So how do we actually design the questions? Next are just 3 or 4 points on some general rules on designing questions. Well, remember your questions. Remember the flow that you have to think about. Consider the flow you have to think about. Decide exactly what you want to find out, because it's very difficult to go back to respondents and ask them to complete a new questionnaire should you actually forget to put in a section. This has happened, and it has happened to me an awful lot of times, and this is the value of piloting your questionnaire or your questions. Great thing to do is put yourself into the shoes of the respondent. Imagine yourself as a respondent. How would you answer the questions? What are your views about the questions? Try and consider any vague or misleading questions or an inappropriate flow of questions. Again, going back to a general rule is to do piloting. There are a number of things to avoid when asking questions. that is ambiguous terms, such as the phrases regularly, frequently, often. What do those terms mean to you? They could mean completely different things to others. Definitely avoid long questions, and this is where piloting or asking others to assist or others on the views on what you are presenting. Double-barrel questions may mean different things to different people, and you may have even sub-questions within one question. Very general questions should be avoided. Again, they will be difficult to interpret for other people, so being straight to the point is required. Asking two questions in one, I have done this myself so many times and don't actually realise I'm doing it. And even I have asked questions where one part of the question provides, in a sense, a no answer to the respondent, and then the latter is a yes, but I only present yes, no in the overall answer, and the respondent is confused about what to put down. Definitely avoid the negative terms, or even where there's a double negative. And where appropriate, use technical terms where you believe the respondents would understand those technical terms, but otherwise avoid them. Avoid jargon and acronyms, and also abbreviations. Things to make sure of when you're asking questions. Does the respondent have the requisite knowledge to answer the questions or understand the terminology of the questions? If you have just a yes-no answer, have you considered more possibilities? But even if you just want a yes or no answer, sometimes it's always good to provide an other answer, and that is possible through different software programs, such as SurveyMonkey. When you scroll down SurveyMonkey, you can actually put in other or additional. Have you an equal number of positive or negative responses to a question to avoid bias? For example, you might say agree or disagree, but also maybe you might need a not sure of. Or you have strongly agree, not sure of, and strongly disagree. Well, that's not an equal number of positive or negative responses. Are you relying too much on the respondent's memory? Well, if so, then you may not get proper responses or true responses. So always think about maybe a not sure or a don't know or even a not applicable if you're asking questions. Common mistakes when designing questions. Some of this comes from my own experience, and that is excessive use of open-ended questions. You should try and have a good balance between the closed and open-ended questions. I would have more closed than open where possible. A simple thing of telling your respondents how to actually answer the questions is quite important. This is even in a verbal situation or in a written situation. So indicate tick the box or delete where appropriate or put an X. So ensure that those instructions are contained either in a verbal situation of asking questions or in an online situation of asking questions. The layout and design of asking questions needs to be considered to prevent the overlapping of categories. And also consider where more than one answer may be applicable. You may actually have to give them a dialogue box where maybe that is explained. If you're asking people to rank a question and then provide just a yes, no or dichotomous questions, well then that's not proper layout of your questions. So make sure if in the instructions you ask them to rank, provide them with the ranking options then. There's also a term called a vignette question, and this is where you present respondents with a scenario. And I remember a colleague was doing some research on ethics, and the best way, rather than asking people straight up what their ethical opinions were, she provided little vignettes of scenarios of where people were faced with ethical dilemmas or ethical choices. And then she asked them to indicate how they would respond, or more importantly, what they think the characters in the vignette should do. And here she was anchoring opinions and choices in a concrete, specific context, meaning the little vignette scenario. And it is quite useful for sensitive topics. It's less threatening. Imaginary characters suggest social distance from the respondent. And the respondent isn't put into a situation where they're saying, my God, these answers are giving to the interviewer an opinion of what I am like as a character. However, if it can be played against a scenario, then the respondent may not have that perspective. I have mentioning the importance of piloting and also pre-testing the questionnaires. And just to actually finish off this section, I just want to reiterate the importance of this. So the piloting and pre-testing enables you to check that the research instrument works. It gives you an idea of how somebody may answer the questionnaire in its entirety or answer the questions. It enables you to question whether or not there is a flow to the questions, and does it actually flow well. The people who are piloting can actually identify their misunderstanding of questions, or their interpretations are maybe different to what others might actually have, and also the vagueness or those questions which are confusing. Open questions can generate fixed choice answers for closed questions in the main research. And also be careful that people who help with your pilot study are not included in the final sample. Actually, this is interesting because some other supervisors may actually include may suggest to include the pilot study in your survey. I think this is open to debate and discussion. I'll let you make that decision. And finally, also, don't forget, don't reinvent the wheel. So consider using maybe existing questions. And this is actually a common practice in research. This is what I did in my PhD. I used other people's questions and incorporated them into an overall research instrument that I actually designed. Because those questions have already been tested. And you can actually understand whether or not they worked or not based on the researchers' write-up about the questionnaire and the survey method. It enables you to know that there's reliability and validity of the study already presented as a result of incorporating somebody else's research. Have a look at SurveyMonkey, because SurveyMonkey actually does provide you with a research bank of questions, or a bank of questions that you can choose and pick from. But also you can go online and find question banks online of pre-existing questions that you can actually cannibalize for your own research. I hope this video on asking questions has enabled you to consider how you may ask questions in your own research, be it in a quantitative or a qualitative approach. Thank you.